What's going on, guys? Apathettic here with all your tips, recommendations, and everything in between. And in today's video, we are covering the shotguns you're going to need to be successful in the Crucible next season. With the announced nerfs to quick draw and top performing shotguns like Astral, Horizon, and Felwinter's Lie, that are also losing quick draw altogether, these shotguns now will have downsides that they didn't have before, making them less than optimal. This shakeup changes what shotguns are now viable as well as what perks we should be looking for on these weapons. So I'm going to show you guys the shotguns I'm going to be using next season, where to get these weapons, and why these are the shotguns you're going to want this coming season. But before that, I also have a Discord for people looking to team up, discuss builds, or ask questions. So consider joining the Discord using the link below if you're looking to connect with some like-minded Destiny players. With that, let's get into it. Starting with our first shotgun, and it is none other than Seventh Serpah CQC 12. Now this shotgun had a brief stint of popularity back in season 10 when it was first released, but then was very quickly overtaken by Felwinter's Lie and Astral Horizon, and for good reason. But with the changes I mentioned to quick draw and those shotguns specifically, I expect to see this shotgun rising to the top of the meta once again. And part of the reason for that is because of the lightweight frame shotgun, so it gives it superb handling and you move faster with this weapon equipped. And as you can see here on the roll I have kind of set up in D2 Gunsmith, I have a 72 handling roll, and so this shotgun is going to perform very well. But it's not just the fact that it's a lightweight frame shotgun and the fact that it's going to have that naturally high handling, but again, I feel like it's underestimated the faster movement with this weapon. It's going to allow you to close the gap a lot quicker, especially if you're running something like Stompies, Dude Marchers, or Transversive Steps, depending on your class. It's going to pair really well with this weapon. And where you can find this weapon is going to be at shacks when you turn in your Crucible engrams. So making sure when you're turning in all those Crucible engrams, you're keeping a close eye on what's dropping. I found the drop for the Seventh Serpah CQC to actually be pretty generous compared to some other weapons in the loot pool, but keep in mind the loot pool is pretty large, so your mileage may vary. Now getting into the perks you're going to want to look for, we have to keep in mind that now that quick draw no longer gives us that 100 handling. We want to be careful with choosing perks that are going to hurt our handling. So starting with the perks on this weapon, I'm going to still aim for a ranged masterwork, just going to make the weapon feel a touch more consistent. In terms of the barrel, you really have two pretty good options. You have either small bore, which can give you that range and stability, or barrel shroud, which will give you stability and handling. And so I typically, because the handling on these lightweight frames is already pretty high, I default to small bore to give me that extra range and stability. Now in terms of our second column, or our magazine, I still go with accurized rounds here. It's just a lot of range to want to give up, but at the same time, if you had to roll with assault mag, which is going to allow this weapon to fire a little bit faster than it already does, that is not a bad rule either. I really like assault mag for those quick follow-up shots, especially on a shotgun like the Seventh Serpah, where it's not going to have a super deep one-hit kill range, but with assault mag, you're going to be able to quickly follow up with those shots. Now, in terms of our last two perks here, you're still going to want quick draw. So even though it doesn't grant 100 handling anymore, it's still going to be nice to be able to pull your weapon out very quickly. And the key to getting quick draw on this weapon is to make sure you get it with snapshot. You don't want just quick draw and then one of these other 4 perks here. You want to make sure you get quick draw with snapshot, because snapshot's going to give you that faster handling that you would normally get by just having quick draw. So having quick draw with snapshot is going to basically make your shotgun feel the same as it would as if you just had quick draw with that 100 handling. But again, that's going away. So this is kind of our sneaky little way to keep that same feeling. Now you could also get Vorpal in this last column, and if you pair it with this weapon with something like Dragon Shadow or Ophidian Aspects, Titans don't really have anything that boosts handling significantly. You could still make this very viable, but again, snapshot quick draw is going to be the best option here. And this is a shotgun that I think is criminally underrated. Is very snappy, very responsive, and really helps with pulling out your primary faster, because keep in mind that stow speed is super important, or how fast I can put away my weapon, to how quickly I can pull out my primary. And so this is one of those guns that's very good for pairing with your primary in terms of pulling out your shotgun, firing off a shot, then switching back to your primary and finishing the kill. But if you take advantage of that faster movement with this weapon and maybe a movement exotic, you're going to be able to quickly close the gap, slide in, really get this shotgun up into your enemy's chest, and really get that easy one-shot kill. This is not a shotgun though you want to try to get those really deep one-hit kills with, because more often than not, you're going to find you're not going to do quite enough damage. On top of that, remembering that shotguns are super inconsistent in terms of their pellet spread, so keep that in mind when using this weapon. Moving on to an old favorite of mine that I used to use a lot back in the day, back when Forsaken first launched, and now is kind of rising to the top of the meta once again, and that's going to be the Retold Tale. The Retold Tale is a precision frame weapon, so it has a recoil pattern that is more vertical. But essentially what this means to us is it's by default going to have a really high range stat, so it's very comparable in my opinion to aggressive frame shotguns, so shotguns like Felwinter's Lie or Astral Horizon. But again, you're gonna have that little bit higher range but lower impact, so each pellet's not gonna do quite as much damage. And so you're gonna find, similar to what we talked about with the 7th Seraph CQC in terms of perks, that's what we're going to be looking for on this weapon as well. But where do we get this weapon? Let's go back to that. Where we get this weapon is going to be from doing Dreaming City bounties. You can do bounties, I believe it's also from world drops, and you can farm this, I believe it's 2 to 3 times per character. So you want to make sure you're doing that each week until you can get a decent roll on this weapon. Getting back into the perks though, we're going to want that range stat, and we're going to definitely want a small bore again here. Again, if you get some other barrel, it's not too bad. The only ones I would really avoid though are like smooth bore, because it's going to increase your projectile spread, making it less consistent, or even rifled barrel, which in the past was a top tier perk, but because it really decreases that handling speed, it may not be as optimal here. Either accurized rounds or assault mag are my go-tos in this second column. And then again, you see that same trend. Quick draw snapshot is really ideal for the Retold Tale. Slide shot is not bad if you still get snapshot. Slide shot snapshot is not bad. Ideally, given the other perk combinations, you're going to be looking for that quick draw snapshot, because it's going to again make this weapon feel super snappy, super quick and responsive, and still give that good stow speed. Not as high of handling compared to a 7th Seraph CQC, but you make up for it with that range and that impact. And so I really love the Retold Tale because of its consistency. It has really good one-hit kill range, a really deep one-hit kill range. And so for me, if I had to choose between this and some of the other aggressive shotguns that may be on the table, it's going to be really hard to turn away from a Retold Tale. The only challenge with this weapon is grinding for a good roll and doing some of that older Dreaming City stuff or content. But if you don't mind doing that, you don't mind grinding things like the Shattered Throne, then absolutely go for it. Easily one of my favorite shotguns I've ever used. Used to be my main shotgun back in the day before I got my hands on mind benders. So definitely keep an eye out for this, making sure you're analyzing your rolls as they drop and aiming for those more snappy perks. And for my favorite shotgun on this list, and one I think a lot of people are sleeping on, we have the Toil and Trouble. This is an aggressive frame shotgun, so it's gonna have incredibly high impact. It's gonna have that deep one-hit kill range that we're used to from Felwinter's Lie and Astral Horizon, and it also fires faster after each kill. In terms of where you get the Toil and Trouble from, you can actually get it from turning in Crucible engrams. So as you're turning in those Crucible engrams, you will hopefully see the Toil and Trouble drop. It can take a little bit because there's so many things in that pool that can drop, but making sure that you're paying close attention when you're turning in those engrams. Now the challenge with the Toil and Trouble compared to some of the other shotguns we mentioned is it doesn't run with some of these perks that actually increase our handling or how fast and snappy this weapon feels. In terms of quick draw, it does run with snapshot. But in terms of what I love running on this shotgun, I actually have two options here. So in terms of what I like to run, I actually prefer Barrel Shroud on this shotgun. That's going to increase the stability, increase the handling speed, which is going to be nice for drawing out this weapon and ADSing depending on your role. Getting into our second column as well, Assault Mag and Accurized rounds. This is going to be pretty consistent across the board. If you get Light Mag, that's not terrible either, but preferably Accurized or Assault Mag. Now for our third column, we actually have a couple of options here. I really like either Slide Shot or Threat Detector. Slide Shot is great for that little boost to range, as well as always reloading your shotgun. There's no worse feeling than when you're sliding around the map and you're running from enemy to enemy, maybe shotgunning some people, and you run out of ammo. Slide Shot really helps us prevent that, because as you're sliding, it's gonna be putting one bullet back in your chamber to make sure you're never firing blanks with your shotty. Now the other one I really like here is Threat Detector. And so when you're close to people, it's going to increase your handling. When you're with around 2 or more people, it's plus 40 to handling. And why that's great is because it allows you to really do a good job of defensive shotgunning with the Toil and Trouble. So if you have a Threat Detector roll, do not throw it away. It has the potential to be really, really good depending on the perks you have in the last column. Now in the last column, we have Snapshot, which is going to be an easy go-to for this weapon. Now, the one caveat I have to that is I would say don't sleep on Rampage. Snapshot is obviously the god roll perk in my opinion on this last column, just because of all the things we've mentioned on previous shotguns. But don't think if you get Rampage that's immediate toss away, because when you get Rampage, when you get that initial kill, this shotgun becomes crazy consistent once you have Rampage proc, and it has insane one-hit kill range. And because of that damage boost you get from Rampage, you don't need to really land as many pellets. It's going to make your shotgun feel a lot more consistent. It's going to allow you to really go on a tear with this weapon. And it's so, and it already being an aggressive frame shotgun, this one already probably feels the most consistent out of the three. But then you throw on Rampage and it just goes to a whole nother level. I absolutely love Rampage on this shotgun. I think it's kind of slept on. In terms of why I love the Toil and Trouble the most, probably out of all these shotguns, even though I really have a place in my heart for the Retold Tale, is the Toil and Trouble is just that consistency. It's really hard to beat the consistency of these aggressive frame shotguns. And even if you don't get Snapshot, the ability to pair it with something like Apathettic Aspect or pair it with Dragon Shadow, things that significantly increase your handling, it's going to make this weapon feel almost identical to having a Astral or Felwinters with quick draw. So essentially, we do have to make a choice, but it does allow us to somewhat overcome the downsides of this being an aggressive frame shotgun, especially with all the choices that we now have from Igneous Hammer, Bottom Dollar, Palindrome in the energy slot. Toil and Trouble being a kinetic shotty makes it an even better choice than the other shotguns I mentioned. So these are the three shotguns you're going to want to really keep an eye on going into next season, and depending on your playstyle, one of these three may be the perfect fit for you. Like I said, for me, Toil and Trouble really fits my playstyle and what I like in a shoddy, but for you, maybe the Seventh Seraph CQC, and one is not necessarily meant to be better than the other, but they all have their place in the meta. And I think with the changes to shotguns that is coming, that's going to be even more true going into next season. But let me know in the comments what is going to be your go-to shotgun going into next season. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out the video on the screen going over the other best weapons you should be keeping an eye out for in Destiny 2. With that, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.